property for a failed septic system located at 2 Orr Lane. Also in that same session, the Board of Directors unanimously voted to not act upon an agreement dating back to October 2nd, 1998. Next on the agenda is the Joint Advisory Committee reports. Recreation is first. Deborah.
Good evening, everyone. Warm enough for you? All right then. So our meeting took place on Monday, August 14th. As usual, all the amenities were in very good condition. Notes to follow. Over at Metfield, it was noted that the base of the water slide is beginning to rust and asked that it be looked at. In a conversation with a POA family out there, the family talked about how much they love the recreational facilities here in Bella Vista. They did suggest an area of shade on or near the playground would be a great addition. Over at Blowing Springs, those new picnic tables look great. And I personally went out Sunday morning and just had a little breakfast by myself way up back by the spring, just to make sure. They're awesome. Tyree, the bumper strip on the south side of the dock is detached and requires repair. Over at Lake Avalon, the dock that's in the lake came loose from one or more of its anchors and was spinning around. Over at Kingsdale, it was noted that there is a crack forming along the south side running through the middle of the court. At Lake Ann, the fish cleaning station has developed a slow leak, and the bridge at the waterfall has a broken board through the middle. Over at London, washout onto the road does require cleanup, and a tree washed up by the fish cleaning station and dock, so a little tidying up over there perhaps. At Tanyard Creek, one of the lower guard cables on the suspension bridge looks slack. We're not the experts, just asking that someone look at it. And finally, over at the trails, what we learned was that the Trailblazers prepare a monthly usage report for the POA, and we as a committee have asked and feel that it would be beneficial for the staff to report these numbers at each committee meeting and roll them into the official POA stats for the month. So we think that would be interesting for the membership to hear. Under new business, Tom conducted the annual committee training with a new PowerPoint this year. Thank you, it was awesome. The committee was given capital projects, and then we also recommended some. So there became a list of 12. We prioritized those 1 through 12, and we submitted them to Tom as we were asked, and so the staff has them. The committee unanimously approved the Arkansas High School Rodeo Association to hold 2 events, one on a Sunday in October and one in April, to use the trap range and half of the rifle range for a small number of junior high school students and high school students. The Rodeo Association is insured and will provide their own range officers. So that falls into our guidelines of children, charity, things of that event, and not impacting our members. And then finally, the POA staff reports. Tom mentioned that there's been a 27% increase in the sale of activity cards from 2021 to 23, but important note is that the increase in dependent cards is growing greater and greater, showing that the increase of amenities by children in our community. He told us that in 2022, the trail counters indicated over 287,000 people used our trails. However, only 50% of the trails have counters. So that would be likely about 500,000, I believe. And then finally, he told us that the Trailblazer Appreciation Event is scheduled for October 8th at the Gear Garden, and there are currently 385 volunteers that help maintain our trails. So that's pretty impressive and pretty involved. John informed us that the gun range for July attendance was up 28% over last year. Rick, his Lake Rangers had over 6,000 contacts in July and removed 422 people that could not prove required proof of residency. And finally, Joan gave us some dates on some upcoming events. Flea in the Park is October 6th and 7th. The Haunted Mini Golf will take place the 2 weeks surrounding Halloween. And the new Kingsdale equipment had been removed, and at this time was waiting for the new, but on my way home from work tonight, it looks like they've already started putting it up, and it looks really cool. It's nice and bright. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Our next meeting will take place on Monday, September the 11th, at the boardroom and live stream. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Next report is from the JAC Lakes.
The team met on August 7th in the boardroom. Some of the highlights were Rick Eccles reminded everyone that Lake Windsor drawdown starts October 16th and ends February 19th of next year. The drawdown was moved up a few weeks to accommodate the city roads department that's fixing a culvert on Chelsea Road. Lakes and Ecology has been busy adding several fish habitat structures, both natural and man-made, to several lakes. And Chris Fuller gave a review of the annual data on bass sampling on our lakes, and the presentation is located on the POA website. And that's all.
Thank you. And final JAC Golf. Ruth?
Okay, the August meeting was held, and Keith Eames from the Maintenance Department thanked each superintendent for their great job in taking care of the winter kill, because it had been an issue and it resolved several problems. Our courses are ahead of most of the courses in the area and look best since he has been here. Nursery green at Dogwood was planted last week. Aerification existing greens and took the material and planted it and saved about $4,500 in sprig cost. So that's pretty good. Weed control was started in broadleaves. Pre-emergence for the fall has been delivered for the fall as well. Bella Vista Country Club Carroll Electric is boring holes through number 10 and 18. Work should be finished in 2 to 3 weeks. So if somebody's out there digging around, there's a reason for it. 340 Bridge project is still at a standstill. Maybe we will get the course back in late fall, but he wanted to note that Arkansas State will give Bella Vista Country Club money to replace and cover the cost for the repairs. So we do not have to fork that over. Golf operations there on Muldoon. July rounds, we're happy to report they were up. They ended 26,253. People are still playing them, it's hot. Up 5,081 over last year. And the year end, or the year to date, has been 119,456, up 25,868 over last year. Range buckets ended 9,335, up 2,092 rounds. Range buckets year to date, 50,043. So somebody's practicing. 13,000 over last year. Darryl wanted to put on record. He will put the golfing experience in Bella Vista against anybody in Northwest Arkansas from our team, merchandise, and total experience. He is super proud of the entire team, committee, and everybody for their support. AJGA tournament will be coming next week to the Highlands on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Qualifying rounds will be Thursday, Pro-Am will be Friday, and the tournament will be Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Hannah Hilliard, pro at Tanyard, spoke about Operation 36. She thanked the Futures Cup for their support. About 60 ladies have been coming through the program and very successful. She also has increased the Junior League Operations 36, and Ryan Summers is running the Men's League as well. Alex Stanford for the tournaments wrapped up the junior golf camps, 50 kids in each of them. That's a lot of kids on a golf camp. It went extremely well, however. The All in the Family was filled with 132 players. Parent-child was canceled but rescheduled for Saturday of this week due to the weather. It rained instead of being hot. The 2024 budget was given to Tom, and it's the same budget request or suggestions that we had in the last month, so their status still. Next meeting will be Wednesday, September 13th, 4 o'clock, right here in the boardroom. Any questions, comments, concerns? Good. Thanks for going well.
Thank you, Ruth. Next up, the preliminary financial reports. Beth?
Well, I'm happy to say we had another great month. So we'll start with the consolidated financials. This is water and POA together. The revenue for July was $3.7 million, which was $133,000 better than budget. Year-to-date, we've had revenue of $22.3 million, which is $1.1 million better than budget year-to-date. Cost of sales in July was $516,000, which is $12,000 better than budget. Year-to-date, $3.1 million, which is $357,000 worse than budget. With increased revenue, you would expect increased cost of sales. In expenses overall was $2.5 million for July, $34,000 worse than budget. And year-to-date, $16.4 million, $260,000 better than budget. EBITDA consolidated for July, we have a positive EBITDA of $677,000, $111,000 better than budget. But year-to-date, we're $1 million EBITDA better than budget, a positive EBITDA of $2.8 million. So looking at the POA only, we thought we'd compare the revenue to 2022. We did take out the cell tower sale out of the 2022 numbers because that was an unusual transaction, so we could compare normal operations to normal operations. In 2023 so far, there's $15,886,000 of revenue, which is $1.1 million better than last year. And EBITDA for the POA only is $646,000 less than last year, but still a positive $746,000 for the year. And you'll see later in the slides that we're $1.3 million ahead of budget for POA year-to-date EBITDA. So we budgeted for that. Inflation's hit us hard, but we knew it was coming, and it was budgeted. Water year-to-date compared to prior year is $136,000 less, but $6.4 million in revenue. The EBITDA for the water is $432,000 less than last year, but still a positive $2,077,000 in EBITDA year-to-date. Looking at the expenses overall, in July, as I said earlier, $34,000 worse than budget, $260,000 better than budget year-to-date. Some of the significant variances and categories that contributed to that: in July, maintenance and repairs was $80,000 worse than budget, primarily in golf maintenance. Supplies were $56,000 worse than budget, primarily in water meter installation supplies. And wages and benefits were actually $123,000 better than budget, which was primarily in golf and maintenance and construction. So looking at the POA's divisions for the EBITDA, you can see that all divisions are better than budget year-to-date, with golf the clear winner of $738,000 better than budget. Administration, $366,000 better than budget. Recreation, $137,000 better. Lakes and parks, $74,000. Maintenance and construction, $63,000. And food and beverage, $49,000 better than budget. We thought we'd look at where we are at on revenue at the end of July compared to what was budgeted for the entire year. We're 58% through the year. Water has 57% of its revenue realized that was budgeted for the year. Food and beverage has 67% of their revenue realized. Recreation, 69%. Golf operations, 76%. And lakes and parks, 95% of their budgeted revenue. Consolidated, the POA has 62% of their revenue for the realized as budgeted for the year. Cash is looking good. We have $8.6 million. $3.6 million is unreserved for the POA. $902,000 is reserved for the POA. $2.2 million is unreserved for the water, and $2 million is reserved for the water. We've paid $205,000 down on the loan of water to POA, and we still owe $2.1 million. The POA still owns $2.1 million to the water. And down to the one-pager, you can see all but 3 departments have EBITDA variances better than budget, with, again, golf being the clear winner at $639,000. General income, which has assessments in it, $242,000. Recreation, $137,000, better than budget. Looking down at the bottom, there's where you can see POA without water is $1.3 million, better than budget on its year-to-date EBITDA, and water is $316,000 worse than budget on its year-to-date EBITDA. Looking at the month-end borrowing, there's that $2.1 million loan that the POA owns water, and we owe $2.4 million on the remodel for the BVRC. And as always, you can find more detailed financials on the website. Any questions?
That's why I want to make a comment that your red and yellow is very appropriate for.
Thank you.
I wasn't sure if that's because it was hot
Yeah.
or it's fall. And
But we like the both.
yes, we do.
It's hot temperatures and hot numbers, right?
Thanks, Beth.
Next item is the open forum. I believe we have none and then no emails. So moving along, we have a capital project request, gutters at the country club. If we can have a motion on this, we'll.
I make a motion to approve $15,000 for capital project of installing gutters and downspouts for the front entryway at the country club.
And a second by Jeff. Okay, now, discussion. Maybe an explanation from Tom. Just get us started.
Absolutely. As we indicated at the work session, we had ongoing flooding in our accounting department, which is immediately below us. The roof, which does not have a gutter in that area, was spilling rainwater directly onto the skylights. And on top of that, there were 3 holes bore into the wall from a now removed or long removed fountain decades ago.
Sure.
Those holes have been filled, but they ended up giving way. So we were getting a lot of water into accounting. We've gone through, we've grouted the holes, we've removed the mulch in that area. We've fixed a crushed pipe, and then the last thing we're trying to do is add gutters to get that all the water away. It's $15,000, which is it's a lot of money on per foot, but because of the characteristic architecture that we have here, it costs more. So we're asking for $15,000 to get the job done right.
Beth, was that your reasoning for the vote? Because it was your office?
Flooding.
Any other discussion? I will call for the vote then. All those in favor of the capital request?
Aye.
Mike says aye. That's any against? None against. Next, we have the approving the charitable giving committee recommendations.
I move to approve the donation recommendation submitted by the Charitable Giving Committee.
Thank you. Jan, seconds. Okay, we tasked them with this.
Yeah.
They handled it.
Yeah, they do this on an annual basis. We had $25,000 in the budget. Our Charitable Giving Committee, which is a standalone committee, did a great job. The ending balances are basically as a result of compromises where they went through and they ranked the different charitable requests. So that's how you get to these kind of odd numbers. but it adds up to $25,000. And per company policy, all of the charities are officed in Bella Vista. That is an absolute requirement.
I'd like to just go ahead and say, I don't know whether I should recuse myself or abstain. What's the better way to do it? But I can't vote on this because I'm an officer.
Well, I think you should recuse yourself and not say anything positive or negative. And then when the vote comes, I think you should abstain.
So I get to do both.
You get to do both.
Any other comments? Okay, I'll call for the vote then. All those in favor of approving the recommendations as submitted?
Aye.
8 in favor, 1 abstention. Okay, we have a additional memo come to our attention. Want to redirect some funds, and anybody who's been around the Dogwood Golf Course realizes why we need to put the funds there.
I do apologize that this was not brought up at the work session, but we've been trying to get the numbers hammered out, and they finally came up, and it was all the information finally came together today. And so I contacted David and asked him if it would be okay if we were to walk this one in. If the board is in any way hesitant about this, we can always delay this to the following month, but we would like to get this done. We have a $40,000 capital project for paving up in the Heights. It's part of the 23 budget. And what we want to do is redirect those funds. So anytime you have a change in scope, we have to come back to the board. I mean, you approved it for this, and we want to do this. We have to be very transparent and tell you that's what we're planning on doing. We also need $10,000 more, and then what we would do is look to replace the $40,000 that would go towards the Heights and the 24 capital budget. So we don't want to. We still need to do that work, but it's not as pressing. If you look at the map on the next page, you'll see the outlined area. Well, the bottom left is the clubhouse, and then in the middle upper section, you'll see the two buildings. That's the cart barn, and all the area that I've marked off is the area that would be paved. And there's just a lot of, there's been a lot of patching here and there, and then it's just not holding up very well.
In speaking with Mike about this project, he said that they will be removing what's there, so they'll start with a uniform base. So it'll look good. Should last for years and years and years.
And then the last page of the memo is Mike's actual formal, it's an internal document, but it's formal request.
Okay, I guess I've neglected to ask for a motion. Would somebody like to make that motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion authorizing the change to the scope of the previous approved 2023 budget capital paving project and the increase of funding for the project to $50,000.
Thank you, Jerry. Jeff is second on that. Okay, is there any discussion about this?
I've got a couple comments. My first is a question. Remind me, Bella Vista Heights project, what was that?
It was paving, so the Heights are not part of the city of Bella Vista. So the roads are owned and maintained by the POA. So that's why we have to pave those roads up there. The Heights are located above the school, roughly above the school, Cooper Elementary. So the roads need work. But Mike looked at Metfield and looked at the Heights and, said, okay, Metfield is of a greater need at this time, as long as we include it in next year's budget.
My second comment, thank you for the reminder. My second comment is that even though the numbers weren't together, if we would know that this was potentially being looked at. I personally, for myself, would have paid more attention when I was out there. Whenever I go out there, I just pay more attention and look closer. I was going to go over there and look to make sure, but I didn't have time when I saw this memo tonight. So I just think to give us a little bit of time to agree, I certainly trust Mike's expertise, and he wouldn't ask for us if we didn't need it, but just to be an informed voter, it would be nice to have a little heads up to be able to
Absolutely.
kind of see what we're talking about. I go there often, but I just don't pay enough attention. It didn't jog me enough to think, oh, this is terrible, when I was there last time, but I would have paid attention more with heads up.
And you know, normally it's, and I do apologize that we didn't bring this to your attention at the work session. And if the board is uncomfortable, we can delay it. We would like to get it done, but you know, note that our health and safety coordinator, Heath. So what Heath's job is to make sure that, you know, we're keeping our employees and our customers safe. He was tasked with looking at this project and felt that it would be prudent if we moved forward. I hate to be in a situation where we delayed a month and then someone gets tripped. Someone trips or something like that. I'd hate for that to happen. With that being said, it's been bad for a while.
I guess the other comment I meant to make when I was talking is that it certainly will make the whole area more cohesive because of the parking lot, you know, with the nice parking lot to make this look all similar in recent paving. That would be nice.
Yeah. This, of course, as you might imagine, requires the coordination between MAC, Maintenance and Construction, to remove the existing and to have followed closely by the paving company. And it's going to affect golf courses because it's going to make it a little interesting to play golf there while that's going on. So there may be some closures.
He was waving, but his mic's, Chris, his mic is on. Can you not hear it? You're good? Okay.
Okay, any other questions on this project? I will call for the vote then. All those in favor of the motion to authorize the change in scope?
We lost our Zoom user.
He's gone.
Is Mike? Mike is unavailable, must be out of range.
So I agree.
Mike?
You're muted, Mike. There you go.
Yeah, I suggest we move forward with it.
I heard a 4.
Okay, that's
Yes, we move forward.
Oh, okay.
That's 9
I
in
heard
favor.
4.
Okay, that brings us to the end. So it's time for me to do announcements, and I don't have to announce the JAC meetings because they all said when they were, right? That being said, recreation is Monday, September 11th, usual time, 4 o'clock. Lakes is September 13th, 2 o'clock. Golf is September 13th at 4 o'clock. Rules and regulations is September 14th, 1:30 here in the boardroom, open meeting. The GM meeting, a closed meeting, will follow that at 2:30 here in the boardroom. The work session was Thursday, September 21st, 9 a.m., and the regular session is Thursday, September 28th at 6 p.m. Thank you. Any objections to adjournment? We are adjourned.